we have been telling you about a body parts found in the trunk of a Tesla owned by the singer David. We now know who the victim is in this case, and there are a lot of twists and turns.
Apparently, the victim was none other than David's girlfriend, Celeste Rivas. And here's the jaw-dropper. Fresh party footage just leaked, showing the two of them all lovey-dovey hours before the murder went down. Now, everyone's asking, was this some messy lovers fight that spiraled out of control? Or is there a darker secret hiding behind the scenes? The headlines linking David to the death of a teenage girl hit like a bombshell. Disbelief everywhere. For years, David was painted as the quiet, mysterious breakout star, the prodigy who sang about heartbreak, not horror. But behind that rising fame, whispers of a darker story started creeping through. A tale where his art, his life, and tragedy were tangled so tight, the truth couldn't stay hidden anymore. It all kicked off with a car left abandoned in the Hollywood Hills. Residents spotted the Tesla parked for days, windows rolled up, not moving an inch. And then came that strange smell, the kind of odor you can't mistake. Authorities finally towed it after 3 days, thinking it was just a parking violation, but what came next? Pure nightmare fuel. Once the car was hauled to the impound lot, staff noticed the stench getting stronger. When they popped the trunk, horror exploded.
Been telling you about a body parts found in the trunk of a Tesla owned by the singer David. We now know who the victim is in this case, and there are a lot of twists and turns.
Yes, the victim, as it turns out, is a 15-year-old girl named Celeste Rivas.
Inside, a bag sealed tight, filled with human remains, dismembered, mutilated. No doubt about it. And the registration? It led straight back to David Anthony Burke. The world knew him as David, the 20-year-old indie sensation from Houston. In seconds, the mystery Jane Doe case turned into a full-blown celebrity homicide scandal. Police confirmed the Tesla was his, and boom, shockwaves tore through the public. The initial police reports described the discovery as the body was so badly decomposed that investigators struggled to identify it. But one eerie detail stood out: a tattoo on the victim's right index finger, etched in bright red ink, reading, "That chilling clue dropped before the victim's name was even released." It was Celeste's mother who came forward, telling investigators her missing daughter had the exact same tattoo. And then came the bombshell. She revealed her daughter's boyfriend was none other than David. Days later, the remains were officially confirmed as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas. She'd been reported missing the year before after a string of runaway incidents. But this time, she never came back. The second police confirmed that the body in David's Tesla was Celeste. Chaos erupted. Media firestorm, accusations everywhere, and TMZ didn't hold back.
It really all started when a Tesla was impounded in a Los Angeles tow yard. Inside the trunk contained the human remains of a 15-year-old girl who had been missing since last summer 2024, named Celeste.
Their coverage framed it in the bluntest way possible. But here's where things got even messier. The tattoo connection wasn't just hers. Photos started flooding the internet showing David rocking the same exact tattoo on his right index finger. His was done in black ink, but the placement was identical. Sure, the style was popularized by celebrities like Rihanna and Lindsay Lohan, but this wasn't some random trend anymore. People saw it as proof of something way more intimate between David and Celeste. And Celeste's mother wasn't done talking. She doubled down, saying her daughter's last known moments were with David. Even though she'd never met him face to face, she remembered her daughter leaving with him one night and never coming home. Police tried to stay cautious, refusing to officially call David a suspect or even a person of interest just yet. But online, the narrative had already exploded. Academics, streamers, and fans went live, reacting in real time to the shocking twist, suspicion running wild everywhere. Forensic teams confirmed the Tesla had been parked in the Hollywood Hills before it got towed. And here's the kicker. Reports revealed it was left right near a house tied to David's own management. LAPD homicide detectives swooped in, raided the spot, and carried out a computer plus evidence bags. That little detail, the car being so close to his known circle, instantly cranked suspicion through the roof.
He was bringing a casket, a wreath, and a notepad. That's kind of crazy, given the fact that he was using some type of imagery of a funeral at his shows. But if it's true, the girl that got killed, She didn't get a funeral.
But David's reaction? Cold silence. He didn't rush to explain, didn't address a thing. Instead, he kept on with his tour, hitting city after city, as if nothing had happened. Only after fans and the press started dragging him non-stop did he finally cancel a few shows, including one in Seattle. The contrast was insane. While headlines were screaming about a girl's dismembered body in his car, David was up on stage, tossing out merch to screaming fans like life was normal. That eerie disconnect just made the public even more suspicious. How could he sing like nothing was wrong when his own trunk was literally a crime scene? And the timeline made it all so much darker. Celeste disappeared back in April 2024, when she was only 13. Her body wasn't discovered until September 2025, more than a year later. The thought that she could have been dead for much of that time, hidden inside a car linked to David, left questions that nobody could answer. Law enforcement didn't help either. Their contradictions fueled the fire. They admitted several people had access to David's vehicles, but at the same time confirmed the Tesla was never reported stolen, which meant one thing: David, or someone very close to him, always knew exactly where that car was. And still, David walked free. Cooperating, yes, but not charged with a thing. That's when academics and commentators voiced what the public was already screaming. How is this even possible? To make matters worse, David's own music suddenly turned into evidence in the court of public opinion. Fans rushed back to his breakout track, Romantic Homicide, zeroing in on that chilling line. "In the back of my mind, you died." He once brushed it off as a poetic metaphor, but now it sounded like a confession hiding in plain sight. His visuals only added fuel. One music video literally showed him placing a body inside the trunk of a car. On stage, he'd even used funeral props with caskets as part of the act. Once seen as edgy, artistic metaphors, people were now calling them red flags that had been right in front of us all along. Then came the leaks, and they made everything worse. Investigators learned that a track allegedly titled Celeste had surfaced. Supposedly written back in late 2023, the lyrics contained chilling nods to her name and presence, whether the song was authentic or not.
Latest thing about David, as we said, police have not named him, but we do know that he canceled for the first time since all of this has been going on. He canceled a show. He had another one scheduled in Seattle tonight.
Its circulation online deepened the belief that David had both personal and creative ties to the victim. Digital traces piled up too. Leaked Discord messages, alleged iCloud drops, and photos showing David interacting with a girl who looked eerily like Celeste. Screenshots even suggested she was active in his servers as far back as 2022, when she would have been just 11 years old. If that's true, their association started years before her death, turning the entire case into something far darker than anyone imagined. Meanwhile, TMZ reported growing public fury at law enforcement's stance. Because let's be real, despite a dismembered body sealed in a bag inside his own trunk, officials kept their cautious tone, refusing to slap him with charges. That hesitation frustrated everyone who saw the act of dismemberment as evidence enough. The Tesla itself quickly became the centerpiece of the investigation. With its high-tech surveillance features, built-in cameras, GPS tracking, and event data logs, commentators were convinced the car held the smoking gun. Academics even pointed out the irony. The same futuristic machine meant to capture every detail had somehow sat abandoned, reeking of death for months without anyone stepping in. And the questions only got louder. How could a car tied directly to David sit out there for so long without intervention? Why was he still free to perform like nothing happened? And how could his music, once celebrated for its emotional rawness, now sound like straight-up prophecy of the crime itself? By mid-September 2025, this wasn't just another murder story anymore. It had exploded into a cultural shockwave. David, the rising star once hailed as the voice of broken, disaffected youth, was suddenly tangled in one of the darkest celebrity scandals in recent memory. The truth was starting to bubble up, but the deeper layers of his rise, his secret connections, and the growing trail of evidence promised even more chilling revelations. The discovery of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, brutally dismembered inside a Tesla registered to him, pushed public opinion into overdrive. The initial shock gave way to relentless scrutiny. It wasn't just about what happened anymore. It was about how deep David's connection really went. That's when investigators, along with obsessed online sleuths, started piecing it all together.
This guy could not be a person of interest, I do not know. Like, if there had to be at least one person of interest in this situation, it would be him.
His past, his digital breadcrumbs, his lyrics, his performances, everything blurred into a disturbing web where personal relationships and public art overlapped in haunting ways. And Celeste's timeline became the first roadmap. Sure, she'd been reported missing several times, but her disappearance in April 2024, when she vanished for good, would turn out to be the key that cracked open the story. She was only 13 years old, and for more than a year, she never returned home. It wasn't until September 2025 that her body was finally identified, confirming the family's worst fears. Her mother's testimony only added to the storm. She told investigators her daughter's last outings were with a boyfriend named David. That single detail locked the spotlight straight onto him. Then came the tattoo connection that set the internet on fire. Celeste had etched in red on her right index finger, the exact same placement where David had the word inked in black. TMZ wasted no time blasting the coincidence across headlines. Sure, the tattoo was trendy years ago thanks to stars like Rihanna, but both of them having it on the same finger? Fans weren't buying it as a coincidence anymore. Online sleuths went digging and soon unearthed digital evidence that made things even creepier. Screenshots from Discord servers showed Celeste allegedly interacting with David as far back as 2022, when she would have been just 11 years old. Those servers were packed with young fans, and reports claimed David was personally engaging with them. Some even alleged he paid certain users to keep quiet about what went down in those chats. Then came the photos. Leaked iCloud images and Discord screenshots that appeared to show David side by side with a girl who looked just like Celeste. Some dated back to 2023, others right around the time she vanished. Even though skeptics questioned the authenticity of the files, the sheer volume of leaked material made flat-out denial almost impossible. Academics and commentators jumped in too, dissecting these leaks live, adding fuel to a narrative that was spiraling further out of David's control every single day. The leaks didn't stop at photos. They went even deeper, spilling into alleged direct messages between Celeste and David that painted a chilling picture of their bond. In one supposed exchange, Celeste complained, "My parents are so annoying, they won't let me go to your shows." And the reply? David allegedly reassured her, promising he'd fix it. If those texts are real, it meant he was in contact with her while she was still unmistakably underage. Then came the biggest gut punch, an unreleased track allegedly titled Celeste. The lyrics? Haunting. Lines like, "Smell her on my clothes, I say it hurt," and Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. Whether authentic or AI generated, the timing of that leak, paired with his history of dark lyrics, gave the whole case an even scarier edge. Even his hit, Romantic Homicide, was dragged back into the spotlight. The infamous line, "In the back of my mind, you died," had once been brushed off as just storytelling. But after Celeste's body was found in his trunk, that lyric hit like a hidden confession exposed years too late. Other leaks only made things worse. A track referenced obsession, possession, and the smell of a lover lingering like cigarettes. Creepy enough on its own, but devastating in this context. And then fans re-examined his TikTok activity. At the time, his reposts were shrugged off as edgy internet humor. But now, they're downright sinister. One post read, "Imagine we were two cannibals in the late 80s. Then you died, and I ate your bone." Another, "Me watching her scream after I poured boiling water on her for telling a boy happy birthday." Back then, people laughed it off. Now, they look like twisted breadcrumbs pointing to something way darker. Even his live performances weren't safe from re-examination. Fans pointed out that his concerts were drenched in funeral imagery.
LAPD Homicide Division is investigating this case. They still have not said it's a murder.
Correct. Meaning that they don't know the cause of death.
Caskets, wreaths, dim lighting, and mourning vibes. At the time, people thought it was just dramatic staging to match his melancholic music. But looking back, it felt like something far darker, as if he'd been foreshadowing Celeste's fate right there on stage. Academics called it one of the most chilling ironies in modern music. Then came witness testimony that hit even harder. A teacher from Celeste's school went public, claiming she disappeared after meeting a rapper named David. The teacher said Celeste went missing for a month, resurfaced only after police stepped in, then vanished for good in 2024. When news of her death broke, that teacher instantly recognized David as the same figure her students had whispered about. This testimony didn't just prove Celeste knew him, it confirmed their connection long before her final disappearance. Meanwhile, Reddit threads started buzzing with eerie accuracy. On September 8th, 2025, the exact day news of the Tesla discovery hit, a user posted about a missing girl from Lake Elsinore last seen with David. They claimed she was being exploited by older figures and feared she could be the body found in his car. At first, everyone brushed it off as wild speculation, but it turned out to be chillingly on point. These layers of evidence, from fans to teachers to anonymous online posters, forced critics and media to reevaluate everything David had ever put out. His catalog wasn't just music anymore. It looked like a breadcrumb trail of confessions. Music videos showing disappearances, lyrics about possession and death, stage sets dripping with funeral energy. Suddenly, nothing felt like art. It felt like testimony hiding in plain sight. And David's own silence only deepened the suspicion. After Celeste's body was found, he refused to speak directly. His final post before the news broke? Just 2 numbers, 6 and 7. Cryptic, haunting, and impossible to ignore. Nobody could figure out what David meant by posting just 6 and 7. But the timing, right before Celeste's body was identified, set off wild speculation. Fans debated whether it was a countdown, a cryptic code, or even a secret acknowledgement of what was about to unfold. As the mystery deepened, his brand deals collapsed like dominoes. Crocs and Hollister quickly cut ties, pulling campaigns that featured his music. Sponsors, influencers, even collaborators hit the unfollow button across social media. At first, Jason the Wine brand tried defending him, insisting people wait for facts. But days later, even they bowed to pressure, scrubbing his name and joining the wave of unfollows. Meanwhile, LAPD kept their cautious stance, frustrating nearly everyone. Yes, they had searched his residence, seized devices, and combed through his Hollywood Hills rental, but they still refused to label David as a suspect. Their reasoning? Multiple people supposedly had access to his cars, and the Tesla hadn't been reported stolen. But to the public, none of that mattered. The fact that a body was found dismembered in his trunk was more than enough to demand charges. And then came the Tesla twist. With built-in cameras, GPS tracking, and cloud-linked event recording, the car itself could theoretically spill the entire timeline. Who drove it?
This goddamn Tesla should be the key. If this is the case, if David did this, he's the dumbest nigga on earth. Why the hell would you go in Elon's on-road spaceship that records everything and go do a crime and then leave the body in the trunk?
Where it went, and exactly when that trunk was opened. TMZ even hinted that investigators had subpoenaed Tesla for the digital records. But at the time, no results had been released. What made everything worse was the Tesla's location. It was discovered parked dangerously close to David's rented Hollywood Hills residence. That proximity alone sent suspicions skyrocketing, leaving the public convinced there was no way this was coincidence. Police later confirmed the chilling detail. David's Tesla had been parked less than 100 feet from his Hollywood Hills rental before it was towed. That meant Celeste's body was literally stored within arm's reach of his known residence. With that revelation, speculation about motive went into overdrive. Some believed the relationship had turned sour and exploded into violence. Others whispered about blackmail, pointing to alleged messages where Celeste's peers hinted she was trying to pressure David for money in exchange for silence. And then there were those who pushed the idea of a setup, though the mounting evidence made that theory harder and harder to defend. One thing was undeniable. David and Celeste were bound together by far more than coincidence. The digital footprints, eyewitness testimony, the matching tattoos, leaked photos, unreleased tracks, and even his own lyrics all converged into one disturbing picture. Whether or not he physically caused her death, he was tangled in her life, and in the nightmare ending of it. By late September 2025, the story had morphed from simple tragedy into national obsession. Fans tore apart every lyric, every TikTok, every old photo for hidden clues. Media outlets ransacked archives, looking for symbolism in his catalog. Police worked slow and methodical, while the public screamed for quick justice. The link between David and Celeste wasn't just visible, it was burned into the public's mind. And yet, this was only the beginning. Family members were preparing to speak, Collaborators were already running for cover, and Tesla's digital data loomed in the background like a silent witness waiting to crack the case wide open. By the end of September, the murder of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas wasn't just a shocking headline anymore. It had become a sprawling investigation consuming the media, hijacking fan communities, and pulling law enforcement into a case that blurred the line between art, obsession, and crime. The case entered a chilling new phase. The question was no longer if there was a connection, but how deep it really ran, and whether the full truth would ever see the light of day. LAPD formally handed the case over to its robbery homicide division, confirming it was now being treated as a homicide investigation. But even with that announcement, police kept their language cautious. Officials stressed that the official cause of death hadn't yet been determined. Yes, the body was dismembered and sealed inside a trunk, but they stopped short of calling it murder until the forensics came back. TMZ called out this vague neutrality, and the public wasn't having it. Commentators pointed out the obvious. Accidental deaths don't end with chopped remains hidden in a car. The very act of concealment screamed intent. But without charges, David remained free, at least for the moment. And that freedom infuriated people watching the case spiral.
We found photos from last September where he has on his pointer finger of his right hand
the same finger as hers.
The same exact finger, the exact same tattoo. It's in black, so it's not red.
At the heart of it all stood the Tesla. With its cameras on every side, its Jeep's logs, and its advanced event storage, investigators believed the car could spill everything. Who drove it, when the trunk was opened, and exactly where it had been. Reports confirmed law enforcement had subpoenaed Tesla, demanding the full data set. Timestamps, footage, location records. The irony was brutal. The car had been abandoned less than 100 feet from a residence tied to David's management, making it the perfect silent witness to a crime that had already shocked the nation. Meanwhile, forensic work pressed forward, and so did the testimonies. Celeste's mother had already spoken, identifying the tattoo and confirming that her daughter's boyfriend was indeed David. With every new detail, the walls around him closed in tighter. Yet somehow, he was still walking free. Celeste's teacher added more haunting detail, recounting how she first vanished after meeting David, only to resurface briefly when she was found wandering in Hollywood, before disappearing again in 2024, this time for good. According to the teacher, Celeste had even told her peers openly that she'd met the Houston-born rapper through social media. But the story twisted even darker when rumors about her own family surfaced online. A viral Reddit post from September 8th, 2025, the very day the Tesla discovery broke,
photos started popping up saying it was the two of them together like this one. There was also a bunch more pics and videos that leaked that showed David with a girl that resembled.
Claimed that Celeste's older sister had been exploiting her, introducing her to older men and even facilitating her disappearance. While unverified, the post's eerie accuracy in predicting that Celeste was the body found in David's Tesla gave it frightening credibility. If true, it pointed to a much wider web of exploitation wrapped around the case. Celeste's brother also drew attention after the body was identified. Users claimed he was contacted directly and allegedly said the family had tried to involve police earlier but were brushed off due to lack of evidence. Authentic or not, these stories fueled the growing narrative of systemic failure. Warning signs ignored until tragedy struck. The fallout for David was immediate and brutal.
Hook, in the back of my mind, you died. I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died.
Crocs and Hollister were the first brands to sever ties. Collaborators who had defended him just days earlier flipped their stance, publicly distancing themselves. Even Jason the Wine brand, which had initially declared its belief in David's innocence, quietly unfollowed him, adding to the pile-on. Industry silence only made things worse. Interscope, his label, refused to comment, sparking wild speculation about whether his contract was on the chopping block. Meanwhile, his once loyal fan base fractured in real time. The very young audience that had catapulted him to fame on TikTok was now split down the middle, some clinging to their idol,
Tesla. I don't think it's him because he's been on tour.
Others condemning him as guilty. TikTok comments, Twitter threads, and Reddit boards turned into full-blown battlegrounds of interpretation. The internet turned into a war zone of opinions. One furious user wrote, "He's 20 and she was 15. He's a predator and a murderer. Lock him up now." Another, usually a defender of innocent until proven guilty, admitted, "With the amount of evidence piling up,
Teslas are
Have a lot
very
of technology.
sophisticated cars. You could at least see who dropped that car off?
Who was driving it? Perhaps you might be able to see who put the body parts
in the trunk.
You're delusional if you think he's innocent. David's silence only made things worse. No statements, no interviews, no explanations. His last cryptic post, just the numbers 6 and 7, became the obsession of fan theories. Was it a date? A code? A countdown? Without clarity, it turned into yet another puzzle piece in a narrative already drowning in mystery. Meanwhile, the way people viewed his art completely flipped. Fans weren't just dissecting romantic homicide anymore. They were pulling apart his entire body of work. Old concert footage showed him dragging caskets onto stages, singing in funeral-like settings, and bathing his shows in death imagery. Lyrics that once sounded like metaphors for heartbreak now read like literal confessions waiting to be uncovered. And then there were his reposts. Creepy cannibal fantasies, boiling water torture memes, obsessive love quotes. Once dismissed as edgy internet humor,
The homicide division is investigating this case. They still have not said it's a murder.
Correct. Meaning that they don't know the cause of.
these posts were now circulating as proof of a disturbing mindset. This merging of art and reality raised a bigger cultural question. Had David been planting Easter eggs of his crimes in his music and performances? Some academics suggested exactly that, calling it a pattern hiding in plain sight. Others pushed back, arguing it was all retrospective bias, people projecting meaning onto art after the fact. But no matter how you framed it, the damage was done. The way the world saw his work had shifted forever. And online, the theories kept multiplying. To some, it was a straightforward case of exploitation, violence, and cover-up. To others, it reeked of blackmail, citing alleged messages from Celeste's friends that hinted at attempts to extort him for money. A smaller circle of supporters clung to the idea that David was being set up.
Someone fell down the stairs and broke their neck in an accident. Why would you dismember the body?
Right.
But the evidence stacked against that theory was overwhelming. The car, the matching tattoos, the leaked photos, the digital trails, all of it painted a picture that couldn't be brushed off. Even if he hadn't directly caused Celeste's death, the signs suggested, at the very least, that he maintained an inappropriate relationship with her. And as commentators pointed out, that alone could make him culpable in both the eyes of the law and the court of public opinion. Weeks dragged on, but the investigation's slow pace clashed with the internet's nonstop hunger for answers. LAPD had confiscated his electronics, subpoenaed Tesla for data, and even searched his residence. Yet with no charges announced, speculation filled the vacuum. Fans became amateur detectives, tracking his tour cancellations, dissecting his social media silence, and watching every reaction from his associates for hidden meaning. But the fallout was bigger than just David.
This guy kind of seems a little bit sadistic, like he was trying to get caught.
The scandal reignited major debates: the vulnerability of young fans caught in parasocial relationships, the responsibility of platforms like Discord and TikTok to moderate interactions, and whether the music industry had failed by fast-tracking young stars without proper vetting. Critics stressed that most of David's fan base were teenagers themselves, raising serious questions about power imbalances between artist and audience. By October 2025, there was no clean closure, only a disturbing constellation of facts. Celeste and David were tied together through their tattoos, through screenshots and leaks, through eyewitness accounts, and through the horrifying reality of her body being found, dismembered, and sealed inside his Tesla. And while brands, collaborators, and even longtime fans were backing away one by one, David kept moving in silence, still free, still uncharged, and still leaving the world to wonder how far this story would go. Police still held the data and devices that could unlock the truth.
If he wasn't involved in her passing, it does seem like they dated or were very close based on everything we know, which at the very least, allegedly, would make David.
Tesla logs, seized electronics, hidden files. But for now, their findings stayed sealed tight. The case remained unresolved. Yet its cultural impact was undeniable. David, once hailed as a breakout artist known for raw, melancholic authenticity, had become the face of one of the darkest intersections of celebrity, fandom, and crime in modern memory. Whether guilty of murder, guilty of exploitation, or simply guilty of silence, the damage was already done. His career, his reputation, and his legacy had been permanently reshaped. And for Celeste, the girl whose name was now forever tied to his, her memory had been dragged into a storm no one could look away from. What started as a strange odor coming from an abandoned Tesla spiraled into a haunting realization. Fame, art, and tragedy had collided in ways that couldn't be ignored. The investigation wasn't over. Answers might still come. But one thing was certain: the disturbing connection between David and Celeste had already left a cultural scar, ensuring his name would forever be spoken alongside the truth that had surfaced. And that's where we'll leave it, for now. If you found this story as shocking as we did, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next breakdown. See you next time.